At 9, the trial of the charismatic pastor Timothy Omotoso and his co-accused Lusanda Sulani and Zukis-wa Sitho is expected to resume in the Port Elizabeth High Court this morning. The trial was postponed to allow defense attorney Peter Daubermann to petition the Supreme Court of Appeal. Daubermann wants Judge Mandela Maka-ula to recuse himself and charges against his client quashed. Judge Maka-ula dismissed Daubermann's application in the High Court and granted him leave to appeal. Now, the defense claims that the judge acted in a biased manner towards his client. Let's get more on the story now. As always, Jayed-Leigh Paulse, our reporter, is at the PE High Court. Hey, Jayed-Leigh, thank you very much indeed for your time. Okay, what can we expect today?
Well, Blaine, it's going to be a very interesting morning. I think all eyes are on the Port Elizabeth High Court here in Port Elizabeth and across the country, are waiting to see if the Supreme Court of Appeal will grant the defence's team be in favor of the defence's team and having Judge Mandela Maka-ula recuse himself, and then also looking at the quashing of the charges. Now, you would know if you've been following this trial that the quashing of the charges pertain to the alleged incident between Zondi and Pastor Timothy Omotoso, or one could say one of the alleged incidents where she claims that she was sexually abused. However, Omotoso coming out saying that he was in fact in the United States of America at that time. But also the defense was really adamant that the reason why they want the quashing of the charges is because they labeled the charge sheet by the state that they was poorly drafted and there were no times and dates in place, and that is reason why they want the quashing of the charges regarding to that statement. But it's going to be a very interesting day. Like I told you, we are expecting court to start promptly at 9:30 this morning, and it remains to be seen whether the Supreme Court of Appeal will actually give their judgment today. I do know that the state's prosecutor Nebente filed his papers rather late last week, so it's going to be very interesting to see whether they will come back with their judgment. Blaine.
Yeah, interesting indeed. Jayed-Leigh, how does it work in terms of the process? So the Supreme Court ruling will be delivered by Judge Maka-ula? Is that how it works?
Well, it's very interesting to note that the judge they want to recuse will be actually delivering the judgment, but I suppose they'll also have a senior advocate also in court to make sure that gets delivered. Also, we are told that Judge Mandela Maka-ula will be sitting in proceedings and he will be giving that judgment, and that there will be senior advocates also in court alongside him. But like I told you, it remains to be seen whether that will actually happen in December, Blaine. As you know, it is December, and most of these cases, or most of the trials, really get thrown over to the new year in January. So I presume that we could see a postponement on the cards, but we'll keep you up to breast with that.
Yeah, so the court will go into recess this week, isn't it?
That is true. So if the trial starts at 9:30 and for any other reason it gets delayed, we will probably see that recess kicking into effect, and then it will probably be postponed for January.
Okay, let's look at some of the possibilities, Jayed-Leigh. If the Supreme Court of Appeal delivers the ruling today, what's the, in terms of the request, what's the possibilities?
Well, look, from the forefront, it was made very adamant by senior counsel Advocate Terry Price that if indeed Judge Mandela Maka-ula is recused from this trial, that would mean that they would have to replace him with a new judge, and that Blaine proceedings will have to commence all the way from the beginning. It will start right from the beginning. We'll have to see Cheryl Zondi taking to the stand once again, and that's pretty much what's going to happen. I think the state really doesn't want that to happen, because it will send this trial into jeopardy. Also, Cheryl will have to come back and go through her harrowing testimony all over again. As you rightfully said also, I mean, she has been through a lot, so it's going to be very difficult for her to come back to the stand and give her testimony if that does indeed happen. And it's also going to be very questionable if that happens. So I think the state really hoping that Judge Mandela Maka-ula remains in the hot seat, but does not get recused.
What do we know about the upcoming witnesses, Jayed-Leigh?
And how long the centimeters were.
Well, Blaine, there were talks that Neliswa and Anele, you would know them, the former Idols twins, were expected to take to the stand. But because of Cheryl Zondi's long testimony, we saw that not happening. But I assume that State Prosecutor Nlebentewa will call the Idols twins once this process commences, and once this is set aside, once the Supreme Court of Appeal's judgment has been granted, then I think the trial can resume again and witnesses can be called back to the stand. So I take it that the state has indicated that they want to bring the Idols twins. There's also talks of another lady, her name has not been mentioned yet. We're not sure if she's going to testify in open court, but there were rumblings around another lady here in Port Elizabeth who is based in PE that she will also take to the stand once the trial resumes.
In terms of the gallery, inside and out, who are we expecting today to be present?
Now, if they have a file.
Well, people have already started trickling into courtroom B. It's not courtroom A like the last courtroom. The proceedings have been taking place. Several of the media also making their way into court. As I said, court starts at 9:30 promptly. Some of the JDI members have also started taking their seats. When we walked into court this morning, very, very quiet outside, Blaine. Very, very quiet. Not a lot of members picketing outside, but I'm told that several gender activist groups will be outside and they will be throwing their support behind all the victims in this trial and really standing in solidarity with those, who have been allegedly sexually violated by Pastor Timothy Omotoso. But like I said, we'll be bringing you all of that during the course of the day and once the trial resumes. Blaine.
No doubt you on top of things. Jayed-Leigh Paulse live for us in PE. Thank you very much indeed for your reporting.